The topic of tonight is what you can get from a microwave. And this microwave's been sitting in the shop for about well, since we've got the place. Actually, it came with the house. The number pad had gone bad, and I was unable to repair it because it's a flat board. It's junk. I can't repair it. It's beyond my capabilities. Here we go, I admitted it. Anyways, so I decided to pull it apart and see what goodies I could get out of it. And you know, this is probably the third or fourth microwave I've done, so I figured this time I'd actually make a video. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about is this device. This is the magnetron. This is the device that cooks your food. If you take a microwave apart, I'm going to advise against messing with this thing because there are some chemicals that this piece here contains that can cause some pretty bad illnesses. However, there are two nice big magnets in there, you can see them, that you can obtain rather easily. Usually there are some tabs, see the little tabs there, that you can pop apart and pull the magnet and magnetron assembly out and get to those magnets. If you do it outside, face mask, all that good stuff. Anyways, I don't do it. I just throw it away. The next thing is a transformer. This transformer is pretty high voltage. I don't know exactly what the voltage is on this one, but it's very, very high. Probably higher than the 15,000 volt transformers that I have already. You get a nice little shaded pole motor. They're 120 volts. They don't have a lot of power, but they can run a small fan. And so if you need to make like a solder vent or something like that, you can. You get usually 3 or 4 of these little switches. They're normal on or normal off switches. It'll say on there NO or oh my gosh, NO or NC, I believe. So, anyways, normal contact or normal off, I cannot remember. I always have to test them because I can never remember. But you get 3 or 4 of those, and they're really nice, really handy to have around because you can stick them into a drawer, and when the drawer closes, turn on or off a light inside. Pretty nifty. Another thing you get is this little motor here. This is the one that runs the turntable. I have yet to find a use for these. They usually run between 13 and 24 volts AC, and it looks like this one is 20 something volts, 21 volts. I really have never found a use for these. They spin very slowly, but they have a lot of torque. The only one I've ever hooked up, I actually self-destructed because I had it clamped here and it literally tore itself apart. So it's got a pretty good amount of torque for such a small little motor. You will also find 1 or 2 of these, and this is a thermal breaker. If it gets to a certain temperature, it will turn off. It will break contact between these 2 leads. They're pretty handy to have, but the microwave ones never come marked with the temperatures, so I always have to test them. And I do that with a lighter, an infrared thermometer, and an ohm meter, a multimeter. You'll find a little lamp with its holder. I've used them for several little projects. They're not really great, but whatever. Anywhere between 2 and 4 of these little feet, which are quite handy. It's just a high density plastic. One of these high voltage capacitors. Unfortunately, this one is damaged and may not be any good. And this guy, which is a diode of some sort, but I don't know its purpose. However, I have 3 of them, so eventually I guess I better figure out what the hell they're for. And of course you'll get a handful of decent sheet metal screws. So if you have extra projects that need sheet metal screws, of course you'll have some of those. They're pretty high quality actually, so I usually hang on to them. You'll also get this metal box, the shell, and the base and you can of course take those to the scrapyard. The only plastic bits that come out of this that are not really useful is usually the control module, unless it has a rotary switch, you know, one of the old-fashioned ones that you turn and it clicks. Those are actually pretty handy because it's a mechanical timer. The original fan shroud for that little shaded pole motor, which I usually take to the recycling yard. It is recyclable, but I've never found a use for them, so I always just take them and recycle them. So aside from the magnetron, you get very few items that you can't just take to the scrapyard or to the recycling yard, and you do get a handful of decent components. And these little guys here cost between 70 cents and $8, depending on their the type that they are. I use them in little pedals that work for safeties as my machines, and so if they tear up, it's nice to have these on hand because I can just replace them instead of buying a new pedal. So that's it. That's basically what you get out of a microwave. You also will get a fuse holder and a handful of little wire with connectors all built into it, and it looks like a rat's nest. It basically is, but I have had occasion where these wires actually do come in handy, so I usually hang on to them. This transformer, unless you are going to make a welder, which is low voltage, high current, I would recommend you just take it to the scrapyard too, because it does have a lot of copper in it, and you can usually get a fair price if you have a handful of them. They also make cool paperweights because they're quite heavy. It's a solid block of steel with some copper wire inside of it. If you decide to experiment on this, you need to educate yourself. That's a lot of voltage and pretty high current too, so it's not safe. There's an artist who made Lichtenbergs using a microwave transformer, not a sine transformer like what I have, and he actually electrocuted himself and died using a microwave transformer. So get that idea out of your head already. It's not good. But I mean, you know, it's a big block of steel, so it makes a good weight. So there you go. That is what you will find inside of a common microwave. Hope you guys enjoyed.